For as long as gacha games have existed, so has fan service, and thus the debate whether gacha games need fan service in order to succeed. Now, in my personal opinion, that's a definite no, though it does give a game a distinct advantage. I mean, who doesn't like looking at attractive things? That's why museums exist and why art is so popular. But once in a while you get a gem like Haze Reverb that, in addition to giving me a newfound respect for physics, did something I've never seen any other game do, ever. They sacrificed gameplay, story, combat system, etc. in order to see if Booba alone could make a gacha game successful. Now, I can't tell you how glad I am that they took one for the team, because now we have a definitive answer. No, it can't. That's what the internet is for. When we play a game, we actually expect to be entertained, challenged, immersed, and we just don't get that with Haze Reverb. Before I go any further, if this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. I'm Shrike. I cover gacha games. The extent to which I cover them will largely depend on whether I think it's worth my time or not. So if you like gacha games, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my videos. To make matters worse, they couldn't even deliver on the one promise they made, to be absolute gooner bait. Those stunning character models in all the advertisements, they don't move. Dialogue, cutscenes, they're glorified cardboard cutouts. Would it have saved the game if they had made them fully animated cutscenes? Probably not, but I can tell you a lot more people would have been playing it at least. Judging by some of their ultimates, we know they have the technology, so I can only assume it was either laziness or an overconfidence in the magic of mangoes. I struggled to make time to grind through this game so I could give it a fair assessment, but I'll do my best here. My favorite thing about the game is exactly what you'd expect, but maybe not for the reason you would. It is so unashamedly filthy and degenerate, it's actually refreshing to see in a genre so rife with censorship. I hate censorship of any kind. I don't see the big deal. People say, oh, but what if a child sees it? Well, if they like it, they'll continue to look. If not, they'll look away. It's really not that deep. Another problem I have is that they made the villains of this game, the Sins, exponentially hotter than any character you can actually pull for and use. Like, who would want to use her, or her, or her, or especially her, when women like these exist in the game? But maybe that's personal taste. Quick aside, they did just add a sign-in reward character named Starry, which is definitely making moves in the right direction. She almost looks like a Sin herself, so there's definitely potential if they keep that up. And along the lines of character gripes, there's far too many children in a game made for gooners. Like, we know who you're targeting, and anyone who bought the skins for any of those characters are now on a list somewhere. I've spent a lot of time on the character models, but that's because that's all there really is. Everything else is so unbelievably generic it could have been generated by AI. From the amnesiac main character, to the upgrade and dupe system, to the combat system with its tank, attacker, and support. And everything in between. The operation tab is where all the game modes will be. The main one, called Main Story, does a decent job of introducing you to the combat mechanics, which are entirely auto. Only thing you can control is where you place them on the grid, and what order they attack in. But then they continuously restrict what units you can use, well beyond the tutorial. There are levels where you're only given 2 pre-made units and have to place them in the right spots in order to win. It could be a clever challenge if the battles weren't full auto, and it required some tactical thinking. But as it stands, it's nothing but manufactured difficulty. I've pulled and leveled units that could easily beat these levels, but I'm not allowed to use them. Then you've got your typical resource gathering dungeons, another tutorial stage, and then something called Red Tower, which I haven't unlocked yet, but says that it rewards armor enhancements. Judging by the name, it's probably your typical ascending tower dungeon. Outside of the operations tab, you've got Drill, which is your PvP. I haven't done much of that. The UI is actually fairly clear and straightforward. Everything's pretty easy to identify and navigate. Which brings us to supply. Here is your gacha system. The rate for an SSR is between 1 and 2.5, depending on the banner. There are a few of them, and I'm still not entirely sure how they all differ. You've got your limited rate ups, and your standard banner, but then you've got other ones called Transcendent Requisitions, and Illuminated Eternal Steps, which I have no idea what's going on here. The story, from what I've seen, is painfully generic. In fact, I've skipped to almost all of it. If they can't even put the effort into making dynamic cutscenes, then why should I bother watching them? Last thing is the Commander's Office, where you can level up different things like stamina and shield credit production speed. In closing, I'm giving Haze Reverb 2 watermelons out of 10. I really wish they had put more effort into the gameplay and not relied so heavily on the fan service. An example of a game that nailed the balance is Starseed Asnia Trigger. Are the characters in Haze Reverb hotter? For the most part, yes, but that's it. Starseed has better combat, better story, a bond system where you can flirt and go on dates with your waifus, a much better gacha system. They are far more generous on pull currency, something I forgot to even mention. Haze Reverb is stingy as heck. And finally, most importantly of all, Starseed has unnecessarily good, fully animated cutscenes. It's like watching an anime. They had no reason to put that much effort into them, but they did, and it's one of the main reasons I'll be sticking with it, at least until Girls Frontline 2 takes up all of my time. Alright, that's it from me. If you made it to the end, thank you very much. I'm gonna fly. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.